Legends, welcome back to another episode of the Ruck Infringement Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joey, and this week we have a special guest interview with the one and only former Melbourne Storm, New Zealand Warriors legend, Ryan Hoffman. Ryan, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, Joey, mate. Thanks for having me.
Mate, our pleasure. Thank you for jumping on. Now, for those that may not know you, of course, you played for Melbourne Storm, played for the Warriors, played a bit in the Super League as well. But before we get to that, the first question I've got for you is, who is Ryan Hoffman?
Me right now, I'm a 40-year-old bloke who's used to be a footy player and very happy raising my kids with my wife. But look, I suppose for me, I was that kid that wanted to follow in his father's footsteps. Obviously, my dad played for the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah.
And my earliest memory, earliest thing I could ever remember was waiting outside Seaford Oval for Dad to come out of the sheds, kicking a 2 litre bottle of Coke on the field, and going to training with Dad and Ronnie Giddo taking Matty Giddo. We were friends as little kids, and our dad's taking us to training. Like they're the earliest memories I had. So that for me, that's all I wanted to do and all I wanted to be.
Mate, that is some an awesome little insight there. So some fantastic memories. Let's start off when you were young. Take us through your footy journey and who did you play for? And were there any other sports that you thought about doing, or was it always rugby league?
Yeah, I started when I was 5 years old. Dad had only just retired, and we moved to Sydney, living out in Campbelltown. So my first club I played for was the Campbelltown Collegians.
Oh,
So
very
I played
nice.
with them. Actually, played with a fellow by the name of an under six by the name of Tommy Brown, who made
Oh,
his
okay.
name as a boxer. Yeah, he
Yes.
was a pretty good boxer, Tommy Brown. So we played in the same team at under sixes. Then after 1 year there, my dad got a job in Adelaide. So the family we all packed up and we moved to Adelaide. So I played soccer. Had two years of soccer there, and then after 2 years in Adelaide, we moved back to Campbelltown. And then all my mates at the school I was playing with were playing for the Campbelltown Warriors. So I played for the Campbelltown Warriors from under eights to under tens. And then Dad got on the move again. He got a job over in New Zealand, and we moved to Wellington in New Zealand. And I started playing rugby union. So I
Wow.
played a bit of rugby union. Actually played for the Wellington under 13s. Played with a couple of future All Blacks in Piri Weepu and
Yep.
Corey Jane.
Yeah, wow.
Played with those blokes, and then after 2 years there, we decided to move. Well, we didn't decide. Dad got moved again back to Adelaide, where I kept on playing rugby union. And then after 1 year in Adelaide, we eventually finally moved back again to Campbelltown for our third stint. And I actually I registered, sorry, with the Campbelltown Warriors again because that was the last club I played for. But we couldn't get a team together. So we actually moved over, went back to Campbelltown Collegians and was there until I pretty much signed to move down to Melbourne. But I always loved my cricket. So I played, for me, it was either footy or rugby union or whatever it was in the winter, cricket in the
Yep.
summer. That's all it
Yep.
was for me. I played a bit of basketball with school and everything like that, but for me, it was always cricket in the summer and footy in the winter. Um, really loved my cricket and everything, but rugby league was always my love. That's for the moment I could pull my boots on, or for the moment when my dad was tying my boots up because I couldn't do it because I was so little. All I ever wanted to do was play rugby league. That's
I love it,
and
mate.
no one could convince me I wasn't going to. And it doesn't matter how many times my parents drilled into me that you got to have a backup plan because it might not happen. I was convinced and I was adamant that that's what I was going to do.
Mate, some good parenting. It didn't matter in the end because you got there. Look, a man after my own heart. I played cricket myself and played a bit of footy as well. So I love it. Look, let's move on from when you were young. You start going through the grades. You get the call up to play for the Melbourne Storm. Now, take us through what that was like. Of course, we know the Melbourne Storm is such a prolific system. You know, Craig Bellamy, a master coach. Take us through that initial phone call, what happened, and then we'll talk about your debut after that.
Yeah, so I was a West junior. I was a Magpies junior, and I started there with Harold Matts. Played Harold Matts, played SG ball, and after my second year at SG, because I played 2 years of SG ball, my second year I got taken up. I bypassed Jersey Flag and went straight to reserve grade. So I was
Wow.
playing reserve grade in 2002. It was my last year of school, and I was playing reserve grade at West, and there was a schoolboys carnival. It was actually the year before, sorry, in 2001. Peter O'Sullivan, he paid a visit to me at a schoolboys carnival and said he was from the Melbourne Storm and asking. I said, "Oh, mate, I'm still contracted for West." So I had a 3 year scholarship thing with there, and he backed off. And then 12 months down the track, he got in touch again, and it was a position where I was in my last year of school. I was sort of on, I wouldn't say I was on the fringe of first grade, but I was playing reserve grade. And I made a decision that I was going to leave West. Um, West were in a tough position then. They were in between coaches. This was in between Terry Lamb and Tim Sheens. And I just felt like I needed a change. I felt like I needed something different. I was fortunate enough to have a few clubs after me. In the end, it came down to Melbourne or the Roosters.
Yeah.
Um, I would have got, to be honest, I would have got paid a lot more if I went to the Roosters. But the thing with that is that the Melbourne Storm came in and offered me the top squad.
Yeah.
So Melbourne Storm offered me less money, but they offered me the chance straight into full time. And for me, it was the right time because I wanted to leave home. Like I had the best family life in the world. Like mum and dad were tremendous. I had a great life at home and everything. But I just felt to myself that I wanted to leave home. I wanted to, you know, be a man, so
Yeah.
to speak. So I agreed to sign with Melbourne. And funnily enough, I actually signed under Mark Murray. Mark Murray was the coach when I
Oh
signed.
wow.
And
Yeah.
then 6 weeks later, he gets sacked. He got sacked, and then Craig Bellamy signed on, which yeah, unbelievably serendipitous because obviously Craig had pretty much known me since I was born. From him playing, from Dad playing with Craig, and they
Yeah.
were good friends through the playing days. And through the years, I've seen Craig at Raiders reunions and all that sort of thing. So it was just funny how it all worked out. And I actually missed the pre-Christmas pre-season of mine and Craig's first year in 2003 because I was away with the Australian schoolboys at the end of 2002, and I actually joined after Christmas. And yeah, that was a wake up call. I just got back from England a couple of weeks earlier and pretty much packed up all my stuff. And mum and dad took me to the airport and said, "See you, son." And I moved down to Melbourne. And I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
Did
Wow.
not know a soul. Then I just, but this is what I wanted to do. So I had no problems leaving home. I wasn't homesick. I wasn't worried. I wasn't
Yeah.
anxious or anything. I was just excited that I was 18 years old. I was moving to another city to be a full-time footballer. I mean, that was my dream. That's all I wanted to do. And I was really excited. And the last thing Dad told me before I left, he goes, "Mate, you got to be ready to work hard. This is your apprenticeship. So you're going down there as an apprentice. So if you want to become a tradesman in the NRL, you got to serve your apprenticeship." And he basically said, "Mate, get ready to run because no one trained harder than Craig Bellamy." And
Yeah.
I don't think a truer word was spoken because I really got hit between the eyes when I first come down to Melbourne and Craig's approach towards it. So yeah, I was fortunate that my first year in first grade was also Bellyache's first year as an NRL coach because the standards he set and what he'd set with the rest of the senior players, I didn't know any different. So I just thought all NRL teams did that. So I got a great introduction to being an NRL footballer.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, you said you've known Bellamy for a long time. Now, as a fan of the game, myself don't know Bellamy that well. When you watch him on TV, he looks super intense. We see him in the box, the F word being thrown around and how he is. Tell us what Craig is really like. Is he that intense in real life, or is that just him as a coach?
Look, Craig's evolved over the years, and he had to.
Yeah,
He'd be in a pine box right now if he kept on going the way he did. But so Craig's first couple of years, he was all about sort of hard work. We're going to work harder than everyone else, and yeah, he is intense. He was
yeah,
intense. When you're on the training paddock, when you're in the club working, he's intense about what you do. He expects high standards. Like everyone asks, what's the silver bullet with Craig Bellamy? There's no silver bullet. It's hard work and high standards.
Yeah,
You
nice.
work hard and you have high standards on what you're doing, you're going to give yourself the best opportunity. So that's what Craig was like. But what people see and all they see in the during the game is him at his workplace, and
Yeah,
that's how he processes things. He needs to get it out because he doesn't let it stew inside him. So he goes off and lets it rip, and then it's out and it's done. You see what I mean? Like he moves on because I've I've been like when I was operations manager at Storm, I've been on the mic listening to him. He's going off and blah 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 blah, and then he'll come down at halftime and talk calmly because that's what he needs to do to get his point across. But at training, the early days, he'd give you both barrels. In game reviews, he would rip into you something sort of chronic, and that wouldn't work for this generation. And why he's such a great coach is he's been able to evolve
yeah,
his the way he talks to people, the way he carries himself with the players of these days. Because this generation reacts differently. But you get Craig away from the football field, he's just a bloke. He's a very very simple guy. In the end, he's a bloke from Portland, out near Lithgow, that just wants to have a yarn. Really, really, just a nice, caring sort of guy.
mate, that's awesome. Mate, did you ever get a spray? Tell us about
Oh,
the worst spray you copped from Craig.
wow. I've got the few. We I remember 2004. I'd played about 13 games 2003 in my debut. In 2004, he gave me it was my second start in the second row. I'd started a few games
Yeah,
in this was my first game starting in the second row. We were playing Cronulla at home. And in the first 20 minutes, I turned in twice on Brett Morley and he's just thrown a short ball. And Craig's big thing is you stay square in defence. And I've turned in twice and they've let in two
okay.
tries. The hook came out. And after 20 minutes of the back row was getting taken off, I knew it. He didn't talk to me at half time. And I got put on with like 3 minutes to go in the game. So I knew, and in review, he just tore me to shreds. He goes, if you don't want to work out how to do this, I'll just leave you in reserve grade. And I was off contract.
Yeah,
So
wow.
he sent me up there. I even had my parents going, mum saying, look, are you sure this is for you? And all, are you sure? I'm like, Jesus Christ. And anyway, I got taken up. But that was the biggest wake up call I ever had.
Yeah,
And but and he said, I'll send you. He was says, well, we'll send you out for a couple of weeks. I ended up staying in reserve grade for 6 weeks because the team went on a bit of a
wow.
run. But it was funny, like that sort of made me realise that I never wanted to give him an excuse ever again to drop me,
Yeah,
where he
yeah.
couldn't trust what I was going to do on the field, and never played reserve grade again.
How good, mate, man. What a spray. What a coach. Let's move on. Now, everyone has a footy nickname. Did you have a nickname when you were playing?
Yeah, I did. I had a couple. I had a couple. Probably Hoffy was the most obvious one, but I
Yeah.
got Hassel. Hasselhoff. So
I love it. I love it.
I got Hassel for a while. So yeah, Hassel was probably the one that stayed on a bit.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. Mate, who was your rugby league idol when you were younger?
Well, obviously one was Dad. Like I
Mm,
just wanted to, but what he do. But obviously we played different positions. He was a hooker. I was never going to bend over that many times in a game, so I was in the back row. But my favourite players growing up was Brad Clyde and David Furner. Obviously, being a kid, I've been a massive Raiders fan. That they were my two favourite, but probably David Furner was the one I loved the most. And I was fortunate enough as a kid. Dad took me to the '89 grand final against
tell me.
Balmain,
Mm,
which was one of the greatest grand finals ever. And I
oh yeah.
also went to the '94 grand final where Dave Furner actually scored the first try, and I got a photo with Dave and the Winfield Cup after the game. So Dave Furner was always a special sort of player that I always looked up to, and was fortunate enough to be coached by him a couple of times in the Aussie squad.
Yeah, shout out to Dave. We've interviewed him on this podcast. Absolute legend. We had Brett Mullins on recently as well. So
Oh yeah,
some absolute Raiders legends made it, and what a team that was in the early
oh,
'90s. So just incredible
tremendous.
stuff. Mate, you played for two clubs in NRL, the Storm and the Warriors. Uh, Did one stand out more for you? Obviously, you were at Melbourne for a long time, and you went back to Melbourne. But tell us a little bit about New Zealand. What were the standards like there? Was it different to Melbourne? In what way?
Yeah, look with the success that the Melbourne Storm have had over a long period of time. A lot of people want to replicate it,
Yeah,
and it's very very hard to do. One thing you can replicate is the standards, and that's what I think why I was signed to go to the Warriors
yeah,
under Andrew McFadden, um, and to try and um, help bring the standards of the club up to where the Melbourne Storm standards to create success. And look, unfortunately, we didn't do that. And while in my time I was there, and the most frustrating thing is because there is just so much potential. Like it's almost bang your head against the wall because there's so much potential over there. And I think what Stephen Kearney had a bit of success over there because he really leaned into what the club is
yeah,
and what the club was about. And actually opened my eyes up for motivations for a lot of players in New Zealand. For me, my motivation was wanting to do it for myself. Like a lot of people would say, "Oh, I want to do it for my parents." I said, "No, I don't want to do it for my parents. I want to do it for me. Like,
yeah.
that's all I want to do." But in playing with the players and understanding how a lot of those Polynesian players, their motivation is their family.
Mm,
And what Stephen Kearney and what Andrew Webster has done there is he's really leaned into what is important to those people. And it is sort of family, it is their culture, and it is really sort of leaning into that, which will get the most out of it. And I learned a lot about myself and learned a lot about the people and what the values of that club actually are. And I was very proud to be a Warriors player. I was
yeah,
extremely proud to be their captain. It really hurt me that we didn't get the success that the club deserved during my time I was there. But it was a great place by some great people. And I just know that the New Zealand Warriors could be the biggest rugby, and I'm talking rugby league and union, biggest domestic club in the world. Because they
yeah.
have,
Wow.
what, I don't know how many people in New Zealand, like 5.5, 6 million supporters.
Yeah.
Because if the All Blacks aren't in town, everyone is all rugby league. They love their rugby league and Warriors. You saw with their crowd. So there is
Mm,
so much potential. They get their success. They will be the biggest rugby union or league club in the world.
that's awesome. That's
Mm.
it's a fantastic insight. A club that's probably been been probably found out about that bro culture a little bit over the past few seasons. I think Webby's really, as you said, he's really changed that. He's really brought into that. Let's work hard. Those obviously that Penrith ethics that he was that
Mm.
he came from. So yeah, mate, some great insight there, mate. Let's talk Melbourne again. Now, he obviously played alongside some of the greats of rugby league. Your Billy Slaters, your Cameron Smiths, your Cooper Cronks, Greg Inglis, just to name a few. What was that like playing with those guys? And did you always know that they were destined for greatness?
Yeah, it's funny when I started, I think Cam had played two first grade games. Bill, I think, was on a $5,000 train and trial contract, and Cooper Cronk got sent back to reserve grade after preseason. He didn't stay in Melbourne, so he wasn't full
Wow.
time. So for Bill, he just tried his backside off. He was just so competitive. He's a stubborn human, so he was so stubborn. He wasn't letting anyone beat him. And Belate loved that sort of attitude of him, and obviously that his carefree sort of attitude and confidence in himself showed in his NRL game. Look, Smithy, I think was a bit within himself. And he just needed. I think it took some home truths from Craig in that first year from him just to sort of tell him that you're within it. You need to extend yourself more because there is so much there. You need to extend it, and that's what like Cam obviously eventually evolved into. And I think
Yeah.
seeing for Cooper Cronk because he got sent back after Christmas. I think seeing his mates like Bill and Cam and Dallas Johnson stay in Melbourne, and he got shafted back up to go be a plumber up in Brisbane. I think that really hit home for him, and he realised he needed to pull his sort of finger out. So I don't think we saw that they were going to be the legends of the game
Yeah.
that for off the bat, because I don't think that would do them justice to the amount of hard work and the dedication they put into their craft. And I was fortunate enough that I played X amount of games with them. I got to see what they were doing every single day
Yeah.
to get to the status that they were. Like the amazing kicks you'd see Cooper do. I'd see him do that 300 times at training before he even dared put it in a game. Like I saw Bill looking at video constantly, watching, trying to make himself better, sitting down with Robbie Ross, analysing absolutely everything. Cameron Smith, like the amount of times he's staying back, kicking, just kicking to the corner to work on his left foot kick.
Mm.
It wasn't just, oh yeah, he's a superstar. Probably the only one was Greg Inglis. He was, you could tell there was something really, really special with him.
Yeah.
But for those three guys, their dedication to their job and their craft made them the players they were. It wasn't just all that natural talent. It was hard work for them, and that they were tremendous players for me to play with, and they made my job easier as a player. And I like to think why Melbourne Storm was so good is that everyone does their role and does their role well. So I like to think if I wasn't doing my job for Cooper and going to the line and dragging in a defender, I'm not giving Bill the opportunity to get an overlap out the back.
Yeah.
So it's those sort of things. Like you sort of take pride in what they were doing because you felt that you played your part in it.
Yeah, mate, that's awesome. I mean, like what they become was just incredible. I'm a big Roosters man myself. So
Hmm.
when Cooper signed for us in 2018, 2019, and to even see what he did there, back to back comps,
Yeah,
just
unbelievable.
incredible stuff. I mean, some fantastic players, as you said, who often got a bad rap, but I think it's just because people don't like success. People don't like seeing other people succeed. So a lot of people had it in for Cam Smith, the referee calls and all that sort of stuff. But there's no denying what a champion he was, and the work rate he got through, as you said yourself. It's just incredible stuff.
I think it's more so his demeanor too, because he
Mm.
was so infuriatingly calm
Yeah,
all the time. Like I never busted on a footy field, and I really never did. And for the majority of my career, it was great because I was on his side. And obviously, for those Origin games, he was on the other side, which which drove you absolutely insane.
yes,
But
yes,
no, look, it was his calm demeanor because he needed that calm. You needed that calm demeanor with Bill. Sometimes you
yeah,
needed just to pull Bill back a bit because Bill wants to put on this great play that's been training all week. He wants to put it on the first play, whereas Coop was quite conservative. And so you needed that bloke in the middle just to be able to just work with those two, just to get the right combination. As I said, the trust they had, like the amazing things that Bill and Coops did happened because Smithy decided they got the ball.
mm,
So it started with Smithy. If
yeah,
he doesn't think it's the right time to pass the ball, they're not going to put it on. So coming from there was absolutely big, and to have that calmness of him, and it just reverberated through the rest of the team.
yeah,
Like you never saw Smithy. I don't think I ever saw Smithy sweat. So it was such a calming influence on a team in some of the biggest games that you're playing, grand finals and all that sort of stuff. He's never raising his voice. He's never talking over the top of people because he knew Cooper Cronk ran the show. Smithy kept it all nice and calm.
yeah, mate. It's incredible to hear. Speaking of that, let's move into obviously your grand finals. Now, you guys play your first one in 2006 against the Bronx, which you guys lose, and then back it up next year, 2007,
Mhm.
which you win. Mate, take us through that period because it was 2006, 7, 8, 9, and just an incredible little run there. I know you lost two in that period, but just take us through what that was like and what was it like winning a grand final?
Yeah, look, it was a great 4 years. But that grand final appearance in 2006 was massive. I mean, we'd had a couple of guys who had played one or two grand finals, but we were the best team all year.
Yeah,
Got beaten by the better team on the night, the Broncos. The Broncos handled the occasion better than us. They played a lot more high percentage than what we did. We were a bit deer caught in the headlights, to be quite honest. Very much reminiscent of the 2024 grand final, I feel. So I get
yeah,
a lot of feelings from what happened with Storm and Penrith to what happened with us in 2006. Best team all year got beaten by the better team on the night. But anyway, but what I do know is that pre-season for 2007, that's the best pre-season I've ever seen. Had it in us to do it, and that it wasn't the cattle cry, oh, let's do better than last year. It was more so, all right, we want to get there again because we know what to do now.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Well, I think we lost 3 games that year, and then we powered through the finals, and then got to Manly, and I don't think anyone was beating us that year. And that feeling, because that when we won, it was pure elation, because it wasn't just a 1 year of hard work. It was 5 years. It was all those years under Craig, and 3, 4, 5, before we got the success in 6, and then got to obviously to win the GF in 2007. But that's why he played rugby league. That's why I didn't want to win premierships.
Yeah, exactly. And then you looked at 2008, you play Manly again. They wiped the floor with you in 2008. Was that a bit of a wake-up call in a grand final? Obviously, that's a massive score.
Yeah, look, it was funny. 2008, we spent a lot of effort making sure we got the minor premiership, and in hindsight, that wasn't the best thing to do.
Yeah.
We wanted to win the minor premiership 3 years in a row, so that was a big goal for us. And when perhaps we could have let 1 or 2 games go and rest some players so we were primed for the back end of the year, that was a learning curve for us. But obviously, we didn't start the finals well. Getting first time 8th, got beat first. We got beaten by the Warriors at Olympic Park, and then we won on the bell against the Broncos, and then that was the game Smithy got suspended.
Yeah.
And I actually did my syndesmosis game. I had surgery a couple of days after the game and missed the grand final. But there was a lot of energy being spent around, because there was the judiciary hearing with Smithy. There was Bellyache calling basically the judiciary cheats and everything like that. So there was a lot of external things going on at that time. And then we put a lot of effort in the prelim. I think we beat Cronulla 30-0. And then we got to the grand final, we were exhausted. And to be honest, Manly is what we were the previous year. No one was beating them that night. Obviously, you don't want to get beaten 40-0. And, I was injured and Smithy was suspended. So we're sitting in the grandstand just sort of looking at this, just going, we feel awful, like those poor buggers. So, it was tough. It was a real tough watch. But as I say, Manly were the best team.
Yeah. And then again, we head to 2009. You guys back it up against a Parramatta team that no one had any hope of making a grand final. It was some Jared Hayne brilliance towards the back end of the season that got Parramatta there. Mate, take us through what that was like, because you probably, heading into that game, if it was earlier in the year, you probably thought you had Parramatta's number. But then towards the back end, when they were just on fire, was that a bit harder then? They were a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, it was funny. Like we finished 4th that year, so we didn't think we were going to get a week off.
Yeah,
and then both first and second get beaten. So somehow we ended up getting a week off, and a week off in the finals is absolute magic. So we were fresh as, I think we beat Manly 40-12 the first final. Had a week off, and then I think we beat the Broncos 48-0 or 48-6 or whatever like that. So we were fresh and we were primed, and we like Parramatta were on that amazing run. But the amount of effort we spent grand final week focusing on neutralising Hayne was massive, and I think it really because we had the feeling, Parramatta had some great players, but we had the feeling if we could shut down Hayne, that'll just cut down anything like that, and it worked really well. And we never really felt in danger at all that grand final until poor old Will Chambers forgot what the rules were and played at a short dropout. And then they get a penalty and we don't touch the ball for 10 minutes and they score 2 tries. And I've never heard a roar well, maybe Queensland scoring a try at Suncorp, but when Fui scored that try,
when
he scored that try in the corner, to bring them in within 6. That's the loudest I've ever heard a crowd. And we just knew we sort of had it in. And then I think we kick off after that. They put a bomb up and Bill drops it. So then they get another set on their line, and it was a bit nerve-wracking there at the end, but we held strong in our defence, and in the end, GI went down and kicked the worst field goal you've ever seen in your life. But that was sort of a surprise that year because as I said, we finished 4th. Probably wasn't our best year during the regular season, but we just hit a sweet spot in the finals.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You have a couple of lean years after that, and then obviously you guys play another grand final in 2012 against the Doggies, which they get the win, and then 2013 against and then not until 2016 for the next one against the Sharks, where the Sharks win their maiden. Uh, Mate, it's been a pretty successful run for Melbourne over a short period of time. They've only been in the comp since '99, so it's been '98. Sorry, been very successful in a short period of time. What do you put that down to, mate? Because obviously Melbourne is not notoriously a rugby league state. It's notoriously an AFL state. So what do you put down that success to? Is it
Mm.
is it the coaching? Is it just uh, players working together? What do you put that down to?
Well, it is pretty much everything. It helps having the same coach
Yeah,
in the role for 20, I don't know, got Craig's 25 years, because when you get a new coach, you pretty much start everything again.
yeah,
So the Melbourne Storm haven't had to do that. They've just built on every single year. And Craig's job gets easier every single year he coaches because
yeah,
all the systems are put in place, and because they've been so successful, they're led by the players. So his coaching is like, in terms of standards, the standards are pretty much already there. And the way the Storm wants to play is there. He does his technical tweaks every now and then, but don't underestimate having that continuity over a long period of time, and players coming into the organisation knowing exactly what they've got to do. Another benefit the Storm has is that for a lot of people that a lot's been spoken about how the Storm have a lot of success out of, like, you're not superstars and all that sort of thing. Where they have that success is because a lot of the time these players are on their last chance. They're on their last chance to come in, so they're going to give them all they've got, or they're thinking, geez, if I'm going to move down to Melbourne where I don't know anyone, I better give this a red hot crack.
yeah,
And so that's why I think they get the best out. And they might only have these players for a year or 2 years, but they get absolutely everything out of them and give them the best opportunity. And the best example of that, I think, is Jamin Lowe. So
mm,
Jamin Lowe came down after salary cap. He came down in 2011, and he was sort of like a bench sort of player at South, come from North Queensland, but he got everything out of his career because he put everything into it, and the Storm utilised that really well. They used him for what he needed to get everything out of him so he could achieve. And I've never seen a happier bloke retire than him, because he retired after the 2012 grand final. But it was so great to see a bloke get absolutely everything out of his career because he threw into everything what the Storm was about. And, you got repaid for the hard work that you got put in it. And that's what I think a lot of players like, is getting that repayment for your hard work, because, everyone's going the same way. And don't underestimate being out of the Sydney bubble either, like for
yeah,
what it is for players. I mean, it's great. I remember for early years at the Storm when we were only getting 6,000 to games, like not a lot of people knew who you were. So,
yeah,
you go to Sydney your second week and get your ego stroked and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, people know you. And then you go down to Melbourne and then you're out of it. And just being able to switch off from that and be out of that fishbowl was massive in early days. And that's what I think a lot of players like. And that's why I think you see some of the genuine superstars of the game play so long in Melbourne, because they enjoy being out of that sort of spotlight.
yeah, for sure. Mate, we moved from grand finals into darkest day in probably Melbourne's history. Obviously, we're talking about when it came out that the books had been rorted, the salary cap had been over. I'm not across it all. Mate, take us through what that was like, getting your premiership stripped, and just take us through the hurt and how the club dealt with that.
Yeah, it was. Look, everyone's got their own opinions about what happened. Like on the day, I remember we were training, and Craig wasn't at training, so we're making jokes, thinking, "Oh, this bastard's up in the grandstand, hiding, spying on us, watching us." We only trained for about 30 minutes, which was unusual, and then we got told from the assistant coaches just because a heap of cameras rocked up, and we had no idea why.
Mm.
And then the coach just said, "Look, boys, just run straight into the meeting room. Don't take your boots off. Don't talk to anyone." I'm thinking, what's going on here? Anyway, we go into the meeting room, and then Craig walks in, and you just knew something horrible had happened. And he spoke us. He told us they've taken off from premierships. We can't play for points, this, that, and the other. And yeah, it was just an unbelievably numb feeling because we didn't think that could happen. And I look at the time, it was just absolute disbelief because we know you don't win premierships from getting paid more. You
That's
win
right.
premierships from hard work.
Yeah.
And look, in terms of each individual, we got paid what we agreed to. What we agreed to when we signed our contract. And I don't want to talk about two contracts. There was never any two contracts, but we signed our contracts and we got the money into our account every month. What we agreed to, and that's all we knew. Or we didn't know who was paying it. We just assumed we were just getting paid, and it was all good. But we agreed to those contracts. I didn't know what anyone else was on. It's
Yeah.
not something to talk about. But look, in the end, we that year we had to find things to play for. And the first game, it was quite easy that first game after the salary cap thing came out because we first of all we had two guys making their debut, Matt Duffy and Gareth Widdop. So we knew we had to put in for them because those poor blokes, they were always going to. It's just another game for us, but they're going to remember this for the rest of their lives. It's their debut
Yeah.
games. We needed to make sure we played well there, and then we had to because it was Anzac Day, and it's a
Mm.
special privilege to play on Anzac Day. So we had to give the day the reverence it deserved. So it was very easy to get up for that game. The next 17 that we had to play for our points, it got tough. And, we had to find our motivation and everything like that. There are a lot of horrible things said to you. There are a lot of horrible things done to you when you're at your footy and trying to do your job and walking to and from. But what could you do? Look, in terms of what they claim they took office, I was there those nights. We won those games.
Yeah.
I've got the ring. I can watch the DVD and see that it happened. And whatever it says on record books or anything like that, I know the feeling when that whistle went and we won. And it wasn't because of anything besides the hard work that we put in the organisation. I think showing what the club has achieved since then proved that this club is built on hard work because there's been a hell of a lot of other teams done with doing salary cap and all this, that, and the other, and they haven't had success. And I mean, to make the prelim the following year after the salary cap thing where they completely gutted the club, to make the prelim was just insane. And then to win a premiership 2 years later when they thought the club was going to dissolve or whatever like that, that showed what the club was about, not what they claim was discovered.
Yeah, it's a great story of overcoming adversity, and it's great to hear from a player who was in that circle because as fans, all you hear is what the media spins. All
Yeah.
we hear is what the journos tell us and what the media tells us. We don't know the inside. So, mate, it's fantastic to hear. And as you said, you were still the best on the night. 2009, 2012, you're the best on the night. So, I personally, I believe you guys deserve those premierships. Obviously, I'm not the NRL. I can't change it, but
No.
yeah, what
But
happened
it's,
was
it's
terrible.
also it's also recognizing pretty much everyone debuted for the club too.
Yeah, wow.
That's why you don't forget. Like through the time I played at the club, we signed one current international,
Yeah,
Michael Crocker.
yeah,
We never signed another one. The next player that they've signed since then was Xavier Coates.
yeah.
Like they don't sign current internationals, like current Australian players. They don't sign your current Origin superstar because the current Origin superstar that plays for the Melbourne Storm came down to the club as a 17-year-old and
Yeah,
debuted at the club. Like,
yeah,
and that's
exactly.
the difference. That's what shows what the club was about. The club took these like I came down as an 18-year-old. Bill was 19, Smithy was 19, Cooper was 19. You know, Brett White was a reserve grader.
Yeah,
You got all these players that anyway.
yeah. It's tough. It's very tough, mate. Let's go on to a
Yeah.
lighter note. Let's talk Origin now. You make your debut for New
Mm.
South Wales. obviously against your club mates in Billy, Cam, and Cooper. Mate, first take us through
Mhm.
what it was like stepping into the Origin arena, and then take us through what it was like playing against your mates as well.
Yeah, look, Origin's amazing. It really is. It's such a massive beast. Like it's not just the game, it's the week,
Yeah,
it's the build up. Um, and I was 18th man for the first game in 2007. I was 18th man in the first game and then got picked for the second game. And it was the best thing in the world. Like I absolutely loved it. It was such a fearsome sort. And I remember getting on the field, and next thing you know, there's 5 minutes to go, and you just sort of think, well, where'd it go? And it was we lost that game and ended up losing the series, which was tough. But then my last game, the last was a dead rubber, and we beat Queensland up at Lang Park, which was massive. Um, Look, I played Origin at a time where Queensland had the greatest rugby league side ever assembled. To be quite honest, and that they were, they were phenomenal. And I played in 07, 08, and then I had a 5 year hiatus where I couldn't get picked until I got picked again in 2013. But it's funny you put playing against your mates. I mean, what makes Origin so special is that you do play against your mates, and if you get a chance to hit them, you belt them. You don't get a chance
yeah,
to hit them every other
absolutely.
time, so you might as well give it a crack. But in the end, it is left there. That's exactly where it's left. Like we don't like I'm catching a plane with them in about 12 hours after the game. You know what I mean? To fly back to Melbourne. But nothing's really spoken about. Nothing's really, you're just back to being mates. And that's what made Origin so special. And what really summed it up for me was in 2014 when we won the series, the first and only series I ever won. In 2014, we won game two. And I remember Bill, Cam, and Coops coming up to me and after the game, shaking my hand, just give me a big hug and just saying, mate, we are so proud of you. So happy for you. Congratulations. They knew how much it meant to me.
That's so good.
They were shattered, but they put their how they were feeling aside. Like,
Yeah,
I'm sure they wanted to win 10 straight series. Like they'd won eight.
yeah,
I'm sure they wanted to win 10, but they were really happy for me. And that really was massive because they knew, how important it was playing for New South Wales and winning a series. So that summed up Origin for me. And I was the same when they won series. I was happy for them. But we left it there. It was left there and it was happy. And then we go back to being, like Cam and Bill were groomsmen at my wedding. So they're really good friends. And Cooper as well, really, really good friends but you don't let that stuff go. And why Origin's so special because of the players' ability just to leave it and to move on.
yeah, mate. As a New South Wales fan, I shed a lot of tears over those years. Mate, let's talk a bit of 2014. Obviously, we win the series. Mate, take us through the atmosphere. First off, when Hodgkinson went over for that try, what were you guys thinking? And then take us through the atmosphere at the end of the game.
Yeah, actually want to take you back a game further. I
Yeah,
want to take you
sweet.
back to game one. So we played Queensland in Queensland for game one. And we got on top. There was some good work, I think, done by Josh Dugan. Oh, no, it was J-Moz and B-Moz.
Oh, yeah.
I think Hainsey scored a try and Brett Morris scored a try from great work from J-Moz. And I just remember we defended the last 20 minutes inside our own 20. Like we're ahead by two, and we defended the last 20 minutes inside by 20. I remember I got taken off with about 20 minutes to go. I was knackered. And so I got taken off and Luke Lewis got put on. And as I go off the back of the field and start walking towards the bench, that's when Jamos does his knee. And
Oh,
that's the scene where he
yes.
gets up, gets up and runs down GI and tackles. So by the time I get to the bench, we see what's happening to Jamos. So I just go, I think, I can't remember who it was on the sideline. I said, throw Louis to centres, I'll go back on. So I ended up going back on and we defended the last 20 minutes on our try line, and there was just wave after wave. I remember Brett Morris held up Darius Boyd in an unbelievable tackle. Um, and we just kept on defending, just kept on turning up, and Queensland at Lang Park playing like that, you don't hold them out, but we did. That's what won us the series, that win, because the emotion and the feeling we got and the confidence we got from that was massive. And then obviously we go to Sydney for the second one. It was such a grind. Like that first game was the toughest game of footy I've ever played, by the way. But the game two was such a grind. I think it was 2-0 at halftime or whatever. But we just we had a feeling we'd forget down there because my goal was just running at the three, and I think it was because Cooper was into running the Daly Cherry Evans was running at him, running at him, running at him. And I think I ran at him so many times. I just knew that I was thinking Hocko's going to have to hold this one, hold this soon. So we get down, and I thought I was getting the ball for all money, and Daly Cherry Evans wiped me out, and Hocko goes straight through and puts the ball down. But we're all stoked, but we just know if we can just hold on. I think it was like 6 minutes. We could just hold on just that bit longer. And I remember it was really messy at the end, but that relief when we knew when Hainsey got hold of the ball after they kicked it, that we've sort of won the series and we broke that streak. I mean, we always knew that New South Wales were going to win other series down the track, but we were the team that broke it. We were the team that stopped the greatest rugby league side ever put together. And that was a very, very special night and a very, very special game with great bunch of blokes who I sort of grew up playing with. Greg Bird, we played together as kids in the under-16s New South Wales team. Luke Lewis, we played school footy with and against him and all that sort of stuff. So Bo Scott, I went to school with, and he's in the back row with me. So just some really, really good friends. I was in some development teams with Robbie Farah. So guys you've known for a long time to achieve that was massive.
Yeah, mate. I remember exactly where I was, 2014. Incredible scenes. Excuse me. Mate, let's move on from the Origin Arena. From there, you represent your country. Now, playing for Australia, a lot of people say, playing for your state's the highest honour. For you, was playing for Australia the pinnacle? Like, what was that like when you got the call up to represent your country?
Yeah, playing Origins the biggest games you can play, but playing for your country is the greatest honour you can get.
Yeah,
I'll stand by it. Playing for Australia is the greatest honour. I remember the first time I got picked, it was 2007. After 2007 grand final, I was at the airport. We're at the airport, getting ready to fly back to Melbourne after winning the GF, and Dad called me, and he goes, "Mate, have you heard?" I go, "Heard what?" And he goes, "You just got picked to play for Australia." And I went, "Oh,
wow.
shit." It was just such an amazing feeling. I almost didn't want to go and celebrate. I just wanted to get into training, wanting to get in the camp. And Ricky Stewart was the coach, and we played New Zealand in Wellington. I think we beat them 50-4 or something like that. It was a massive scoreline, but it was such a huge honour. And then I was fortunate enough that then in 2008 that was the centenary test. They played at the SCG, where we wore the old blue and maroon striped Australian jerseys, and that was a very, very special night playing at the SCG, a test match and that. And there was some great moments playing for Australia. But look, I wish I played more, to be quite honest. But I played at a time where there were so many good back rows.
Yeah, exactly. But mate, to represent your country is just incredible. That 2008 one you talk about, I always remember the pass from Gaznia, the GI, which I mean, can you think of anyone else that could do that?
No. Look, I remember chasing the kick. I actually slowed down and thinking, "Oh, it's gone dead." And I slowed down. I almost go to stop, and then I just see GI just go like that, and I start running, and I think couldn't believe he'd sort of done that. But that was a special game, and to be on the field, be 10 meters away from where that happened was pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, we're going to have a bit of fun now. Let's talk about the funniest teammate you've played with. I know you've probably had a lot. Can you narrow it down to one for us? Who's the funniest teammate you've had?
Oh, funniest, Jeff Lima.
Oh, really?
Jeff Lima. He's funny, but he was in a torture way. Like he was an absolute punish. Like he absolutely did everyone's head in. So we called him Pumbaa from the Lion King because that's what he looked like.
Yeah.
But Jeff Lima was definitely the funniest. And I don't know, fortunately or fortunately, I took him with me when I went to Wigan.
Yeah, nice. Well, the next question, ironically enough, is who was the biggest pest you played with?
Yeah, Flamer. One and two. That's the best that you get from Jeff. They always call you Cuzzy, Cuzzy, Cuzzy.
Yeah,
I know better, Cuzzy. But yeah, he was a punish, but he made you laugh a lot too. I tell you.
he might get the third here. I had who was your strangest teammate? Who was a weird cat?
Yeah, Dallas Johnson had some quirks. he was um he was a bit crazy, old Dal. He had some odd moments. I reckon a lot of guys probably would have said me, but no, he had some odd things, Dallas, especially on his game day sort of
Yeah,
rituals.
okay.
Like I remember we're going to before getting ready for a game, you go do your nervous wee, and I'm standing next to Dallas, and I sort of hear him saying something. Is he talking to me? But he's just staring at the brick wall in front of him, just talking to him like like he's having a conversation with the brick wall and how he's going
Oh
to.
man.
But yeah, he was, he was a bit odd, old Dal.
I heard Mick Crocker had some bad game day rituals too. A bit of vomiting.
Yeah, him and he was like, and so was Alex Chan.
Yes, okay.
Alex Chan used to do the same thing. But Croc was loud. You hear him from anywhere. Bill had trying to talk, and there's Croc in the background. "Ugh."
Wow. That's incredible. Mate, did you have a favorite coach? I know you had Bellamy for a long time, but was he your favorite? Did you have a favorite coach you played under?
Yeah, look, you can't go past sort of Craig because for me, I always, as I say, I always backed myself to be an NRL player, but he helped me become the NRL player I wanted to become. And
Yeah.
there's a difference. Like I had in my head the type of player I wanted to become, and I don't know whether I would have achieved that unless it was for someone who gave me the start that Craig did in the NRL.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you go back to Melbourne, you end up retiring. You've done everything in the game, played at the highest level. What was retirement like for you, mate? Was it an easy transition? Was it difficult?
Look, I knew when I was doing my last preseason that I couldn't do another one.
Yeah.
It's not how many seasons you got left; it's how many preseasons. But for me, I found it very hard to say the words.
Mm,
I I found like I knew deep down in my subconscious that I couldn't do another preseason. I just did not have it in me. Um, but it took me a long time to actually to be able to say the words, "I'm going to retire." Like
yeah.
it stick in my throat. Like I found it very, very hard. But when I actually managed to get it out, and I said I knew it was the right decision because I knew I couldn't train to get to a standard where I would have been happy I was playing, and I wanted to retire on my own terms. I wanted to burn out, not fade away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of
To
course. Of
quote
course.
this Neil Young song. Yeah, I just wanted to have nothing left, and I had nothing left. I couldn't do it anymore. So that made it easier. It also made it a bit easier that I had a plan in place for
Mm,
retirement. I'd done my bachelor's degree while I was playing, and I had a plan in place to step in the football department at the Storm. So that made the transition easier, I mean, from player to work. But in terms of identity, I struggled a bit. I struggled about who I sort of was and seeing myself as more than, you know, myself, Ryan Hoffman being a rugby league player was what I did. It wasn't sort of who I was, but it was separating that. I found it quite hard.
yeah.
Found it, I could step away from the game, but I found it hard of realizing what I was and who I was. Because as I said, all I ever wanted to do from when I was 5 years old was just play footy, and you know it had been such a big part of my identity for 16 years as an adult. So you go from your form as an 18-year-old kid to being 34, and what you've done throughout that whole time, your whole adult life up until then, was rugby league. For that, it found it hard for me to find my identity in that. But it took time. I was lucky my wife and family really sort of helped me sort of through that sort of period, and it made it an easy transition. I think being involved in the football department, so I still had a touch with rugby league.
Yeah.
But I did that for 4 years as operations manager at the Storm. But then I knew I just had to. I just step away. I think for the family, like I'd done 20 years of as a 16 as a player and 4 as an admin of being full time in rugby league, and I just needed, and I wanted some more family time. So I sort of stepped away, and I think that helped me with my identity a bit more too.
Yeah, mate. Well, it's been an incredible career. A couple more before we finish up. Now, what is one rule that you would like to change currently in the NRL?
Uh, um, I don't like that the referees have to make a decision.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with the referee saying, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
But they force the referee to take a guess. They don't want the referee to take a guess at any other time in the game. But when there's a try being scored, probably the hardest sort of part of the game, they're forcing the referee to make a call that they're going to be held to. And there's bodies in that everywhere. We've got all the technology in the world. There was nothing wrong with. I don't see personally. I don't see there's anything wrong with a referee saying I could not see anything. I don't know.
yeah.
Because what they used to do back the way, if referee didn't know, you go to the touch judge and ask him, well, what do you think? I couldn't see it. So, you know what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's the one thing I'd like to change is forcing referees to make a decision.
Absolutely. And mate, if you could give one piece of advice to a young kid coming through, what would that be?
I, the best advice I can do is really love what you do. If you want to become a rugby league player, make sure it's what you want to do,
Yep.
because to be a rugby league player, you've got to put everything into it. It's too hard to do if you're just going to half-ass it. So put everything into it. And if you don't want to put everything, that's fine. Find something else you want to put your heart and soul into, because that's where you're going to get the most enjoyment out of. Whether it's a different job or whether it is rugby league, put your heart and soul, put everything into it, and that's what you're going to get your benefit out. If it's being a carpenter, put your heart and soul into being a carpenter. Do everything you can to achieve and do what you want to do. But don't half-ass things. Life's too hard. You want to do something, you give it 100% of a crack.
Yeah, that's some great advice. And to finish up, mate, way too early prediction. Who takes it home in 2025? It's got to be Melbourne's year, doesn't it, mate?
Oh, look, as I said earlier, I just see so many similarities between 2006 Melbourne Storm to the 2024 Melbourne Storm. I think they're going to come in a bit more battle hardened, a bit more
Yeah.
wiser, and they haven't gotten weaker. They've gotten
No.
stronger. Like it's amazing how they've managed their roster to not really lose too many players and to gain a good one, a big Stefano.
Yeah, yeah, Steph will be great. Can't wait to see his development at the club. Well, that's all we got time for tonight on the Ruck Infringement podcast. I'd like to thank Ryan Hoffman for joining us. Just before you go, don't forget you can check us out on all social media: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X, and also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And check out our latest sponsor, JerseyKingz. Go to jerseykingz.com.au. Lots of jerseys going at the moment, all new rugby league jerseys for 2025. And if you use the code RUCK, you'll get $50 off your jersey. So they're selling jerseys for $150. We're doing it for $100 for you. So use the code RUCK there at jerseykingz.com. Lots of other sponsors going. We've got Stay Fancy Eyewear as well and Gibson's Country Style Jerky. Codes are all in the description as well. So check them out. But until next time, that's Ryan. I'm Joey. Be good.